This episode of Show Me Mo Success is brought to you by Labor and Workforce Development, the program under MU Extension's Business and Communities. Welcome to Show Me Mo Success, where we explore how people turn their passion into action to make a difference, and how MU Extension's Business and Communities program gave them a little assist along the way. I'm Luke Dietterle, Extension Specialist for Business and Communities, and today's guests are Ben Cowell, a graduate of the MU Extension Labor Studies Certificate Program, and Doug Swanson, Field Specialist in Labor and Workforce Development for MU Extension. Today we've got Ben and Doug here in the studio to talk about the Labor Studies Certificate Program, which gives current and future union leaders, representatives, and activists the background and skills they need to confront the changing workplace and the changing economy. So Ben, we're excited to have you on the show today, and congratulations on your recent achievement, earning that certificate. So can you just tell us a little bit about what led you to be interested in learning more about labor?
So I grew up watching a lot of TV, news, and all that in politics gets in the ether of everything. My favorite subjects growing up in school were history and social studies, and so I generally had an interest in politics. And the Iraq War and Great Recession of that followed the financial crisis in 2008 really got me interested in going down the political route. So I became a political science student in college, and through going back and forth between school and work, I was working a bunch of different jobs. I was busing, serving, valeting, floor installing, warehouse work. And this is where I really started to get into labor and working class politics. And you get into politics because you want to change the world. You want to have some kind of impact. And politics can be frustrating and progress can get lost in there. Labor organizing and collective bargaining is really one way to bring material benefits to the people who need it. And it's empowering because workers become participants in the economy rather than just cogs in the machine.
Yeah, I can sympathize because I started college in 2008. I even had a couple of my classmates who had to leave school because one of their parents, lost a job during the recession. And yeah, it was a hard time. And I think it shaped a lot of people. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to hear that that was kind of the impetus for you. So, yeah, did you encounter any challenges or was it difficult for you to get enrolled in the certificate program and get going?
The first obstacle in the whole thing is I don't come from a union household. I don't have any family members really. And that's actually true of a lot of people. There's not a ton of people who are in that world. So I was very much an outsider coming in. Working a variety of different jobs can make school go a little slower, but I found a way. And once I found out I wanted to get into labor, I really just did a simple Google search and was looking for some programs. And I was already enrolled in UMSL and I saw the labor studies program. That's where I contacted Doug Swanson, who has been helping me ever since in the program. He kind of broke me into that world and still throughout the entire semester and now helping me better understand the world of labor.
Right, right. And so you said that you've been working while pursuing the certificate. Is that right?
So, yeah, the labor program is 6 courses, 18 hours. So, it was 2 classes a semester. That was really very helpful for me because it allowed me to get it done within 3 semesters. Yeah, it was very flexible.
Yeah. So, what do you think was maybe your biggest takeaway from the program?
I learned a lot about, labor, the history, laws, practicality of unions and collective bargaining. I learned how to do a negotiation. We had a class where we would do a mock negotiation between union and management. And it really helped us students work together to try to win concessions from the other side and really throwing you into the deep end of how these negotiations are had and what to do during negotiations as situations change and develop.
I always find that to be the most helpful. I learn by doing and kind of simulating that high stakes environment. It shows you how much pressure can build up in those situations. So, yeah, Doug, can you maybe share a little bit about your experience with this program too and kind of how you've seen it grow and, pump out great graduates here like Ben?
Well, let me give you a little backstory on the program. The program's over 25 years old, and it started with what was then known as the Adult Continuing Education Program that the University of Missouri system campuses had. And back when in its origin, the certificate program started as a teleteach program at UMSL and University of Kansas City. And then, maybe 10 years ago, that went online, and that was when it was moved into the College of Arts and Science here at UMSL. That's where I work, is out of UMSL. And since then, we've gotten the program fully accredited, so it actually is a certificate. It appears on your transcripts. the courses can apply for a wide variety of degrees depending on what you're studying. So many students who are, like in Ben's case, studying political science, this is an easy add-on. And so over time, the course, it started as adult continuing ed, like you mentioned at the beginning, Luke, for union leaders. But now probably 7 out of 10 students are traditional students who are not in the labor movement. They're, more akin to like Ben, where they're entering the labor movement or early or trying to find their space. Courses are taught from a position of work and working people's history. So when we talk about work and working people, the issues of these 6 courses stem from that position of workers' perspectives. For me, it's been a fabulous experience because I work part-time for UMSL, but I get to work with the extension at the same time. And so 5 of the 6 courses of the Labor Studies Certificate are taught by extension professionals. Myself, I teach 2 of the courses. Matt Pazold teaches 2 of the courses, and Rob Russell teaches 1 of the courses, all extension professionals. And why that is important and why my colleagues in the political science department really value our experience that we have from being in the community as both as extension professionals and the careers we had perhaps before we got into the extension. We were able to bring real world experience into the classrooms. And I didn't realize how important that was until I started working with this program. And it's just been wonderful. And, from Ben's perspective and so many of the other students, right now I'm teaching this course this semester on the negotiations that Ben was talking about. The students who are in that course, a lot of comments already about the life experience that has been injected into the course makes it so realistic, where we're trying to, to not teach from a textbook, but from real world experiences. So that's how the courses are structured, is we learn from the people who are out there doing the work.
Yeah, that's incredibly valuable knowledge. I know myself, I had a break between my undergraduate and my graduate degree, and I'm really happy that I did because I got a lot of professional experience, and then I was able to bring that into the classroom and apply that to the problems that we were talking about. So yeah, I just think that, boots on the ground experience is invaluable. So there's been a lot of high profile labor victories recently. Amazon workers in New York State, some Starbucks workers. So have either of you seen any of that enthusiasm spill over to the labor certificate program?
The course that I just mentioned, I've got 31 students in the course this semester. That's about twice what the course used to attract when I started teaching this program 7 years ago. I would like to say it's because of my dashing wit and charming delivery, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But there is an interest right now with the Gen Z and the Alpha generation, the people who are just entering the workforce or about to enter the workforce. Anecdotally, just talking to students in this semester's course, the high level of comments heard from them about basically adjusted for inflation, their parents' incomes haven't raised their entire career. And in some cases, their grandparents their entire career. And they're seeing that the worker shortage is giving them greater latitude to, if I don't like what you're doing here, if I'm not seeing the opportunities that are giving me the sense of fulfillment, I'll take my talent and go elsewhere. Where when I entered the workforce, taking your talent and going elsewhere was a lot tougher because there was a waiting list. We had a surplus of workers. Right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we have more available jobs than we have available workers in the U.S. Not to say there's places where we don't have some alignment issues, but nationally we have more available jobs than we have available workers. That dynamic that we're seeing, Luke, is being driven by the issue of the newest entrances to the workforce are saying they're not satisfied with what the expectations of what they saw the last couple of generations experiencing, and the shortage of workers is giving them more ability to be selective. What are your thoughts, Ben? What are you seeing?
I see labor in general being more present in the media. And all of these teachers, nurses strikes, the Amazon and Starbucks were huge. The writers in Hollywood, that's another one that was big, that brought a lot of attention to labor issues.
So now that you're out there in it and you've got the certificate, what do you feel is next for you, Ben?
About 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be doing an organizer and training program, and I'll be workshopping conversations, discussing the union, agitating what their main grievances at work are. I want to put in my dues as a labor organizer. I want to get into the actual work of talking to people, forming these bargaining units that can take on management. And, eventually I'd like to be a labor leader of some sort. It is very early, so I'm not exactly sure where my route's going to take me, but I'm always going to be with labor in whatever way possible.
Awesome. So what advice would you give folks considering this certificate?
You learn a lot from this class. The politics of labor, you learn the laws, the history, and these are all things that are helpful to informing your worldview and realizing the importance of labor. So, my advice would be just if this is a real passion of yours, pursue it because it will help you become a better leader. It also teaches you about union leadership, and it may be a little intimidating. I would recommend going to some labor clubs. Now, I think that's actually a Missouri thing. I don't know if there's anything outside of Missouri. Anywhere else, just try to get involved. Unions will throw on trivia nights or stuff like that. Talk to people.
That's great advice, Ben. So, Doug, can you explain what a labor club is?
Yeah, the labor clubs are geographic. I'm going to use St. Louis as an example. St. Louis has the economy of scale of the population to make it work. And so you have different clubs across the greater St. Louis area where people who are interested in running for office will go, and some of the clubs run workshops on how to become a candidate. Or when you're running for office, you go and make your speeches at the labor club instead of going to all the labor unions and Knights of Columbus and Masonic halls. You go to the labor clubs. The labor club is a social organization. It's community based, but it's got this labor interest. Now, a lot of the people in the clubs are also volunteers for campaigns or may become volunteers. If Ben really connects with me, I'll go out and volunteer and work for him. But if not, maybe I won't. It's kind of a social club, but it has a political tone to it, and it's called a labor club. It's open to the public, but labor unions are the kind of the gist that keeps it moving.
Thanks, Doug, for explaining what a labor club is. That's not something I was aware of. I appreciate that. So, what other advice would you have for those interested in getting involved in labor?
I would encourage students to find the labor study certificate early in your academic program so you have time to, if the courses don't align with degree requirements, you can use them as electives. I mean, that's always so much easier. We do have all the courses here in St. Louis are now 2,000 and 3,000 level. So for the students who are transferring in with some of their prerequisites, it's already taken care of. The courses better align with and the courses are Labor, Work, Society, and Politics. There's another course called Labor and Working People's History, Workers and Globalization, Labor and Employment Law, Labor and Community Leadership, Negotiations, Collective Bargaining, and Dispute Resolution. So there's those 6 courses. And like I said, the origin of the program was to create a continuing ed for labor leaders. Now we have more students taking the courses who are not involved in labor, like in Ben's case. Ben, when he signed up for the first course, was not involved with labor. He has since become involved. But I think all these courses are perfectly suited for anybody who's going to be in the workplace, part of the workforce. Whether your check is big or small, you're part of the workforce. All of these courses are teaching basic, solid workforce preparation skills to help you in the workforce. Whether you ever get involved with the union or aspire to become a union leader like Ben, I still think that these courses and the way we've put the courses together, they help everybody be a more knowledgeable member of the workforce. Something like the course that Ben and I both talked about already, this negotiations course, where they have to learn how to cost out a contract. So many of the students are going, I thought it was just, I worked 40 hours a week and I was getting paid $15 an hour, 40 times 15, that was what my wage was. Oh, it's so much more than that. Ben's shaking his head. No, it's so much more, isn't it, Ben? But you will have that with you throughout your career after taking the courses. And so, I think that if you really want to have a sense of how to be a good advocate for yourself and a good contributor to the workforce, these courses can help you have a very stable time throughout your working career.
Any final thoughts to close us out?
One thing is, since just in the last couple of years, the University of Missouri system has done is anybody at any of the system campuses can take courses off the other campuses, especially if they're online. And all of these courses are online. All of these courses are asynchronous. So they were originally, as we've mentioned, have been geared towards working professionals. So I've had people come home from the night shift and sit down and listen to my lectures, in the wee hours of the morning. And then they wake their kids up and make them pancakes and send them off to school. Then they go to bed. If that's what works for them, that's great. Not a traditional schedule. You can take the courses when it works into your schedule best.
That was Labor Studies Program graduate Ben Cowell and MU Extension Field Specialist in Labor and Workforce Development Doug Swanson, filling us in on what participants of the MU Labor Studies Certificate Program can expect to learn to help them affect change in their careers and their workplaces. Thanks for listening. Make sure to follow us on your podcast app so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. I'm Luke Dietterle. This episode is produced by
Shelby Zygars,
with research help from John Clough. Executive producers are Sarah Riley and Mike Kinadev. Senior Program Director for MU Extension's Business and Communities is Dr. Rob Russell. This is Show Me Mo Success.